Hey guys, welcome back to the English Gentleman Gamer with me, Roscoe. You can ignore the strike at Kark and rush footage in the background. I didn't do very well and it wasn't the reason for the video. But the reason I did want to do a video on this subject, just the survey that allegedly came out has posed a couple of interesting questions. The first one is, would you migrate your status from BF3 to BF4? Me personally, I would. I don't particularly enjoy grinding to level up weapons and get attachments and stuff, but other people I've spoken to and watched on YouTube said they do like it. So, me personally, it wouldn't inspire me to pre-order it, but it's not. I think it's a good thing personally, because obviously you don't have to do it. But it's not enough to make me want to pre-order the game. But moving on, there's more interesting things in my opinion. Naval warfare. The survey suggests different names for naval warfare expansion packs. I don't personally get excited about the idea of effectively being in an immobile tank, which is what a warship is, because you can only move very slowly, and I doubt anyone's going to be able to control it. So effectively, you're going to sit in the gunner's seat and take aim at other warships, and I don't really find that particularly appealing personally. Other people may find the idea of replicating Drake's adventures against the Armada appealing, but again, it's not. I think the idea is quite cool. I like the idea of DICE, pushing the limits of what can be considered a shooter, because I think they're getting away from. I think Battlefield is becoming less of a first-person shooter and just becoming more of a war simulator, whatever you want to call it, because you spend time in vehicles already, and you're not necessarily just a bloke on the floor running around with a gun like Call of Duty, say, or Killzone. But again, it's not something that inspires me enough to want to pre-order it. I would definitely, given the issues the PS3 version of Battlefield 3 had, I'd be very, very reluctant to buy it day one. I definitely would like to read the reviews, see a few videos, maybe even rent it this time before buying it. I suspect I will end up buying it, because a lot of my friends online play on Battlefield 3 or Bad Company 2. But again, the idea of naval warfare and scooting about in boats or sitting on a boat with a big fucking cannon doesn't really appeal to me all that much. Moving on, there's another question about experimental weaponry. I don't really see that as an issue personally. I know the Battlefield and Bad Company games have relatively stayed in the present time, so current weapons that current armed forces use. I don't have an issue with using experimental weapons. There's one of the Dan Brown books uses a gun that uses snow as a weapon. That sort of thing, I don't see it being a problem personally. As long as they don't start getting silly and using lasers that can see through walls, unless that shit exists, I don't really know. As long as it doesn't get silly, I don't personally see it as a problem. Again, would it inspire me to pre-order the game? Probably not. I'd like to see it in action, I suspect, before putting my money on the counter and walking away with a copy of the game. But again, I'll always support developers who try and push the envelope. I always think, if Activision had announced Modern Warfare 4 this year, there'd have been quite an outcry that they're just taking the piss, and at least this time round Infinity Ward, in their new guys anyway, appear so far to be trying to do something a bit different. The last thing I wanted to mention, or the last thing you can really see on this, the few bits you can see on the survey that I've seen anyway, is on about different melee weapons. Kind of reminds me of Vice City actually, where you could have like golf clubs and baseball bats. Ultimately, it's taking down an opponent silently, or if you've run out of ammo. It doesn't really bother me. It's just visual tinsel basically on an action that really doesn't make much difference to me what weapon I'm using, as long as it's quiet if you're trying to be stealthy, or it does it quickly if you're in a bit of a scrap. And again, it's something I'd like to see in action before I put my money down. Being a premium Battlefield 3 member, I'm supposed to be guaranteed access to the beta, whatever you want to call it, when it comes out. So we'll have to see how that one pans out. I suspect by the time we get to the beta, they'll probably won't include the naval warfare thing, but I do suspect they will include a couple of these new melee weapons. I've no idea what they could be. And I suspect you might see a couple more of these experimental weapons in for later in the game. Again, having read the survey, I'm a bit disappointed that, having owned all the Battlefield games since 2010 and bought virtually everything DICE have ever fucking made, I didn't get an invite, but anyway, that's another story. Time will tell, basically. We have, none of us have seen the multiplayer. I do suspect the PS3 version is going to be the runt of the litter. Well, no, the Xbox 360 version will be the runt of the litter, based on the fact that Microsoft stupidly stuck with DVDs rather than Blu-rays for the disc drive in that console, so it limits the amount of room that's on there. Now, what DICE could do, if they had any brains, is they could put what they absolutely needed to access constantly on the disc, and you could download it, the rest of it, to your hard drive, whatever else. I don't see why they can't do that. But anyway, the Xbox 360 version I think will be a slightly poorer brother than the PS3 one, but again, I think the PS3 version is going to be the poor relation to certainly the PC version, and more likely the PS4 and the next Xbox versions that come out. So again, given the fuck-ups that occurred on the PS3 version when there was only 3 platforms involved, my hopes aren't massively high that DICE are going to knock it out of the park this time around when there's 5 platforms involved. Now, I'm told the new PS4 and the next Xbox share very similar architecture to the PC version, so in theory they should be quite easy to do. I'm told the PS3 is a bit of a dog to program for, so we'll see. There's my thoughts on the survey. I want to share them with you. They're interesting ideas, but they're not good enough to make me want to buy the game now. I'll definitely have to see them in action. I mean, I can see people. I think there's some mention of a large staff or something as being one of the melee weapons. I can see people running around there like fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all the time and just trying to wrap that around your head constantly. And I can see that getting annoying really quickly. But anyway, I'll leave those thoughts with you guys. You take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch up with you later. Thanks for listening. Bye.